Wow. Okay, I'm just like totally in love. I don't know what to talk about first because that was so good. Well, first of all, let me welcome you. This is really exciting. Jihye Lee. Hi.
Hi.
Let's see. Let me just get a few things together. Hi, Nora. And my well, I want to look at the and I want to actually share the like I said, I don't know what to talk about first, but let me first share the list of these musicians. And a few I know, but I'm not that familiar with New York people, but like Alan Ferber, I'm friends with, and also Jared. Um, and but this is and Ambrose. Wow, he is a gorgeous player. Wow.
100% agreed.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And so I'm very excited. Since the very beginning when I first heard you, I was very excited. And I've been in jazz and for all my life, and I've heard lots and lots of stuff. But your music is really beautiful. It's this I don't know what you call it, genre, or I guess genre, big band. Are you calling? Do you call it a big band or an orchestra?
I call it jazz orchestra, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. I this is one of the best I mean, for my taste, it's one of the best I've ever heard. A lot of times big band stuff is or orchestra too. It's just like, okay, well, I've heard that before.
Mm.
It's not that I don't like it, but I've heard it before. But your music is just beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. It means really a lot coming from you. Thank you.
Oh, man. So, like I said, I don't know where to start because I'm all excited. I want to know how you came up and what inspired you to do this. Quite it's quite a lot, quite brave of a woman. I don't know if it's brave for Korean. If you were Japanese, I would say it was because Japan culture is a little more withheld than Korean. So I'm not sure if Korean women are more accepted to do strong things like this.
Well, Korean women, I would say it's getting better, but our mom's generation, like for instance, my grandmother, she didn't, she couldn't laugh with sound for her entire life
Huh.
because she was told woman's voice can't travel over the world.
Oh,
Um, so historically, we were very, very, suppressed,
yes.
and women didn't really have strong voices at all. And I'm grateful that our mothers actually did a lot of sacrifices so that next generation, such like me, could at least do what I want to do. But I would say it's still very man-dominated world,
Yeah.
and I don't really see the strong women leaders or mentors that I can actually follow their footsteps. So that was one of the reasons why I thought I would come to America. Um, but actually, big band music, I never heard of it in Korea. And then I never saw the live shows at all. So it was like really something that I didn't imagine I would do in the future.
Really?
Yeah. So
So did you start off on piano or how did you start off
I
in
started as
music?
a singer, but
Oh,
it wasn't a jazz music. So I was a singer-songwriter. But I don't think I was a singer material. My personality, I'm a very shy person. So I never felt comfortable singing in front of people.
yeah,
So, but I really enjoyed the process of creation, the music, because it was just like amazing to think the music didn't exist before I write it on the
yeah,
note. Once I write it, it's alive. So how magical it is.
yeah,
So but I didn't know that I would do jazz, but I thought that I would become a composer. So without knowing what kind of composer I would become, I decided to go study at Berklee College of Music in Boston.
uh-huh.
And I was going to come back after 2 years because I didn't
Ah,
have a lot of money. I already graduated a college in Korea, so I was living my life.
yes.
So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna come back in 2 years, but it became 13 years.
Wow. Well, oh, um, so okay, so interesting. So when you I can't, I just, it's fun to imagine your process and your kind of probably innocence, somewhat innocence when you left home, you went and you heard the music and you got turned on
Mhm.
and it's fun to imagine that. And I'm from Boston and
Wow.
yeah, and I went to Berkeley too.
Ah,
kind of in the early 70s. But I think Boston probably was a really nice way to get into everything, right? It's
Mm,
creative, um, a lot of creative thinkers there. There's something like 60 universities in Boston,
mm,
and Boston's it's just nice. It's a good hang town. And then there's Berkeley, which was probably very inspirational, And I
mhm.
bet you had some great teachers. Yeah.
It's funny because every time I meet someone new who graduated Berkeley, they say, "Oh, is Greg Hopkins still there?" Yeah. Is Bob Pilkington still there? Yeah. So all the teachers, I think they've been teaching there for like 4 decades or something. So it's so fun to meet like another Berkeley graduates, and we share the same teachers, which we owe them greatly. And I really appreciate their contribution. I basically started from the scratch. I I didn't know how to write for horns at all. And whereas Japan has a lot of big bands when they do the
Yeah.
like amateur big band contest, they have 300 bands.
Wow.
I know it's crazy, but I think
Yeah.
in Korea, um, including all professional, like not professional school band, I don't think we have over 10 big bands.
Seriously?
Serious.
Wow. I didn't know that actually.
We are very
Interesting.
we don't really have a lot of good horn players because we don't have school bands. So
Yes.
they don't have experiences in the school playing in the ensemble,
Yeah.
coming from the, band experience. We don't have that culture, which is pretty sad. So it's
Interesting.
it's
Yeah.
very it's very interesting for me to actually pursuing this career as a big band composer. How did that happen? I don't know. But I remember one time when I was at Berkeley, I heard enormous sound in a room, and I ran to it. I'm like, what is this? And then I saw it. It was Greg Hopkins' Berkeley Concert Jazz Orchestra, like rehearsing their shows. I'm like, this is amazing. And I just, went in the room and just I was just watching them rehearsing for like 2 hours.
That's really exciting. I told you I'm very good friends with Yun Sung Cho. And
Mm,
I mean, I know he's very busy, but he's I think he's utilizing classical players
mm.
in what he's doing, which is probably a lot of K-pop. And yeah, so but I don't think we talked about I mean, he says there's a lot of jazz clubs in Korea, but maybe that's for smaller ensembles and
Well,
experimenting or
yeah, I think it's getting better, and I am really grateful that a lot of young jazz musicians who studied abroad and went back to Korea and really enriching the scene.
yeah,
But again, if I'm comparing to Japan, in
yeah,
Tokyo, there's 300 more clubs.
yeah.
In Korea, the whole country, I think I would say, I don't know, do we have 70, 80? I can't know. I mean,
Oh,
it's a we are very, very in a baby steps, but I am very hopeful that
yeah.
um, we will make it to great. The jazz
Yeah.
scene is getting better, bigger, and I really like what young people are doing in my hometown.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Um, so okay, so going back to the begin, kind of the Berkeley beginning. So you went in, you were totally turned on. You sat there for 2 hours. Your mind was being blown. Did you actually think, I want to do this?
I can't really remember the timeline correctly, but
Yeah,
I thought about pursuing another careers. Like there are four types of writing courses in Berkeley,
yeah,
and one was film scoring and singer like songwriting. And do you know PWC? It's production, writing, and
composing
uh,
or
no, production writing contemporary, something like that.
oh, okay, okay.
So it's basically the course that you study from the writing to the production.
Okay.
But I was really scared of all the MIDI stuff, computer music,
Yeah.
and the songwriting. It was mostly about lyric writing, which I didn't speak any English at that time. So I was like, what is left? And there was jazz comp. So
Oh my
let's
God.
take a
How
let's
interesting. Damn.
take
That is so
so
that's so wild. It's just like, wow, here's my life path and here's the things that are going on and I'm just on the path. I'm doing it. It's really that's so cool.
but I when even I was a singer-songwriter, I was very interested in somewhat complex harmony. I mean,
Yeah.
how complex the pop can be, but still I was interested in exploring possibilities in the harmonic and rhythmic context. But actually in pop, you are not really welcome if you are too advanced. So, but I had some experiences as a singer-songwriter. So let's take jazz composition one and see what they teach. And I took that class, and one day I remember my teacher said, like, did you declare jazz composition? I said, no, you should. I'm like, okay. So I declared as a jazz major. And next spring, it was fall semester, spring, at Berkeley, we have spring awards ceremony, and I got the Duke Ellington Award, which was the
Wow.
most prestigious award in the jazz comp department. So I was very, very surprised. I almost fell on the ground. I was checking the email. I'm like, what's happening? So yeah, and then I was thinking maybe I should pursue as a jazz composer.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah,
Cool. And so what year was that?
2011.
2011. Okay. So it seems like, well, I mean, considering what you just said, it's not surprising that you produced a lot of great things in those years, better and better and better and more recognized. It's not surprising because it looks like that was your path. Yeah. Um, so so you were at Berkeley for a few years, is that right? 2 years or
4 years.
4 years. Oh, so 4 years. And and then well, by that time, you probably had done a lot and made a lot of connections.
I wouldn't say so because, as you know, Boston is the place for studies.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think I experienced lots of the real world.
Okay.
And I thought, because I mean, if I remember correctly, 2013 was the year that I composed my very first piece, jazz orchestra piece. And I didn't think it was enough since I didn't have lots of jazz background or writing in general, because I wasn't even trained classically. So I thought I would need more time to study. So where would it be? And I thought I would come to New York and study with Jihye Lee, who was one of my inspirations at the time. So I moved to New York 2015 and
Yes.
enrolled um, to Manhattan School of Music and studied with Jim for 2 years.
Okay. Wow. So, when would you say you actually started working,
My
in this?
first show was 2016 at
Okay.
Shapeshifter Lab in New York. And I think I was still a student at Manhattan School of Music, but I wanted to put together my own band,
Yeah.
not with my students, but the real professional musicians. So I was very courageous. I just like wrote it on Facebook, and this is my music. Would you be interested in joining the band? So, I was just like doing some crazy things. And I mean, I'm still I'm still paying very humbly for my band members, but at the time I was just like a student. So I remember I paid them a shame me. So, but they were very generously playing my music and helped me.
Is it the same, pretty much the same band that we just saw?
Not really, because I don't really keep them with salaries.
Yes.
So I do gig by gig, album by albums. And also every album that I make, it has very specific like artistic colors. So sometimes I would prefer this person over that person because the difference, musical differences.
Yeah, I see. Um, let's see. How about if we hear something else? Because I'm curious now of I'm curious of the different colors. That's what I'm curious about. I'm curious about the different colors. I'm going again to YouTube and um, maybe you can direct me. Should I go to your channel or should I just continue?
You can just scroll and maybe you can find Relentless Mind. That was in my previous album.
Right here.
Yes, we can maybe listen to that.
Yeah. Did you want to say anything about it?
Uh, yeah, it's about my New York Times, I was sort of overwhelmed. Everybody's relentlessly pursuing their, dreams. So it was very inspiring. It's the previous album, Daring Mind, is my 4 years of New York stories.
Cool. Okay. Well, this is great. Here we go. Whoops. Let me start at the beginning. Oh, nice. Oh, that's great. And Mark Ferber,
I know.
one of my favorite all-time drummers.
Well, so unfortunate he's in LA right now.
Yeah. I remember when I first saw his brother playing. I was at a convention. What was it? Might have been a Jazz Educators Network or,
Mm.
before it changed over. I think that was what it was. And I heard him play trombone and I was like, I had never heard a trombone played like that. And I was I was blown away. I was like, this is not your daddy's trombone playing.
Mm.
Yeah, and then of course Mark I started playing with Mark, and he's just, as my husband said, he's like, do you know the cartoon character Gumby? Do you know that? It's an old
No.
American cartoon character. It was kind of a stick character, but made out of clay. And
Mm.
it was just an old, cartoon that was very popular when I was younger. And he was very flexible. So my husband called him,
I need to look
Gumby.
it up.
Yeah. Hi, Banush. I have a friend in England who's on. Does she like? Roland would like to know if you like Stravinsky.
Oh, yes, of course. Who wouldn't like Stravinsky if you do jazz?
There you go, Roland. You were correct. Well, I'm curious. Well, first of all, what are you working on now?
Well, I am right now, because even after the release, you have to do a lot of work for promotions and things. So I was pretty busy at it. Right now, I'm like, okay,
I'm
now I'm
sorry. So
breathing.
is this record, did it just come out, the new record?
The new record came out May 31st, so
Oh, okay.
June. So it's been like 45 days. So I
Yeah,
would say it's still new.
yes.
Yeah, so I'm kind of relaxing and doing some, arrangement commissions or some stuff like that. So I am not like really super busy at this moment.
Yeah, yeah. And so others hire you to do arrangements for them?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Orchestras or any singers or
Uh, no, for now it's just for jazz orchestras, but I would love to work for singers because, I came out as a singer.
yeah,
So yeah, singing project is always.
yeah. I'll have to share with you. I should write that down so I remember. But there was a really fantastic record that a friend of mine produced with different arrangers and different solo singers, but more famous solo singers. And one was Mark Murphy with Nan Schwartz's
Mm,
arrangement for the song "This Nearly Was Mine." Are you familiar with that? This nearly was mine. It's a Rodgers and Hammerstein song,
mm,
beautiful song, and God, the arrangement was just gorgeous. You're familiar with Nan Schwartz?
yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, so one of my favorites, if not the favorite, is the album with Joni Mitchell and Vince Mendoza. So
Oh
whenever
yeah.
I hear symphony and singers, it's like,
It's kind of a great combination, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really beautiful. Um, yeah. I know. Okay, so now it's out into the world, right? Um, now everybody knows that you're interested in that. Um, okay, so and then is there I'm sure you're kind of like me. Like, okay, you've worked on something, you've the project has had a life building up to it, arranging, rehearsals, getting it done, putting it out, and now you have a little bit of breathing space where the muse comes in again and says, "Gee, hey, I think we should do this, right?" So
Right.
do you have something else kind of starting to, churn around in your mind?
I think we are all sort of, I don't know, I feel like it's my disease, like, because making a big band album, it's not an easy thing. And it's like giving a birth. When you I never gave a birth, but if you give a birth, you feel like, oh, why did I get pregnant? It's so painful. And then when you get out, I'm like, oh, I want another baby. So that's the same thing for me. I mean, just making this album, which I'm very proud of, but was really difficult in many ways. Challenges just are crazy, including the financial aspects, because it's a very expensive album. And you know, like how much money the jazz record can make. I mean, I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm more than grateful to be able to do what I do. But, you know, we can be very honest with the challenges. So I was like, I keep on saying, maybe this is my last album and then I'm retiring. Maybe this is my last album and I'm retiring. But funny thing is, I still have so much music in me, and I'm actually in a process of um, kind of nurturing my new ideas for my next album, which I really want to do an easy listening pop-ish music, because that's the music that I grew up listening to. I didn't have access to classical or jazz music, but all the pop music was my music. So maybe I can incorporate those two, especially the K-pop culture is huge at this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I have a couple of pieces written, but it needs a lot of revisions. But maybe with that, I can develop the concept of next album.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's one day that goes by that I don't have some kind of discussion with somebody about the reality of our career and the future and how to make money and all of that stuff. I don't think one day goes by without discussing it with somebody. Um, well, let's talk about it for a second because I mean, uh, it's comforting in one way to for everybody to be on the same page, but and it's not comforting. Also, it's like it's kind of the sober reality, which but I keep thinking, much like other aspects of life, including politics, I keep thinking, well, um, things are changing. Maybe young people coming up will have an idea and have the energy to create some new kind of platform on which we can continue on and make money, support ourselves. I mean, I think the same thing. It's just what why do I have to make a record? I feel prone to record, to put it out there. Maybe there's some other way that still can bring attention. Because really, in the end, it doesn't even matter if it's a record or something else. We still have to market it. And so marketing is almost, to me, the bottom line. Um, and like just this week, so I'm also coming out with another record in August, and it's actually older pop songs
Mm.
that have been redone. One of them was Marvin Gaye's song Inner City Blues. And during the pandemic, I had already recorded that
Mhm.
song on the project and I put it out as a single. Now I'm putting it out again. But the engineer, one of the engineers, loved it so much that he did a remix. And the remix is like a dance tune.
Oh, wow.
And it
Wow.
sounds amazing. When I first heard it, I didn't even ask him to do it. He liked it, so he did it. I was electrified. I was like, "Oh my, this is so cool. I'd like to do a whole project like this." But
Mm.
now the thing is, okay, so I did that. So now I'm just sitting in this because this just happened a few days ago. So I'm sitting in this mind questioning thing like how do I put it out? Where do I, what lines do I put it out on? And my friend, I had a very funny communication about it. I said, what? Because my mind was, going with this. I thought, well, what if it got really popular? And what if there was demand for me to perform like this? And how am I going to get the band to actually perform like this? Because it's a remix, right? It has all these electronic things. And my friend started laughing. He said, "You should have such a problem." I started laughing because, of
Uh,
course, that's not me right now, and I don't have any worries about that. But there's so much to imagine and consider, and so I guess you know, it would be nice to. Excuse me for a second.
I need you want to put in that
Yes, I do.
American Express?
Yes, would you? It's in my pocketbook in my wallet. My husband needs my credit card. So, yeah. So I guess, I'm just opening up a conversation about what have you thought about this area? Like what's happening? How can it move forward? How can possibly there be an inflow of income from this music? I mean, obviously, if you were getting into movie scoring, that would be a whole different thing, a whole career in itself, right? Because I have friends who are movie scorers, and I mean, there's nothing else, right? Practically nothing else when you're a movie scorer. You have to really jump in there like the whole body. So, have you thought about that area? Like what to do in the future? How might it turn out? Or
mm. I I think in general, I enjoy writing for different projects,
yeah,
and movie is definitely one of them. I really want to get into movie music business because, a lot of people say when I hear your music, I can definitely see some kind of scenery or some kind of movie storyline, which I really appreciate it. Also, my way of writing is I always have some kind of imagery or storyline, and I try to find musical equivalent and
yeah,
transform all those stories or imagery to music. So I think I would enjoy doing it, but also it's the LA, most likely LA people's job. I thought about moving to LA sometimes, but somehow I'm still in New York. Maybe I can get into Korean movie business, but we shall see. I take it as a business because we are all entrepreneurs who is in the business making no money, which doesn't really make sense. But no one asked you to do that. It was my choice, and you can always quit. So it's all on us. That's how I view it. So if you believe in what you do enough, maybe you need to invest. But I think the turnout is really slow in this business. It's a long game. Everybody says it's a long game. And also, everybody finds their own ways. Some people really teach. Some people do a lot of work for others, and some people really are good at grant writings. So everybody tries to figure out how they can sustain.
yeah. Who are some of your favorite, well, like mentors or even if they're not directly related to you, like people who you look up to, their music?
Uh, we have great composers, the living great composers. We can say Maria Schneider is a strong woman figure. I think she was super, like, I can't imagine how brave she was. When she started, I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy. And she still is not less not less brave at all. She
Yeah.
still is innovating and evolving and try to pave the path for younger generations, which I greatly admire.
Yes.
And Jim McNeely, who was my teacher at MSM, he's just vast amount of work for Vanguard Orchestra, H Big Band, and all the German big bands. The arrangements and compositions, it's just enormous.
Yeah.
Very inspiring. And Darcy James Dargill, who also was a co-producer on my 2 albums. So, and I hear a lot of stories of big band composers. They say like, oh, I just paid off my debt that I had for my first album. Or, oh, do you know how much I spent on this album? I hear all the stories. And then I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but it encourages me to do the same. So, okay. All right. Okay. So I remember Maria Schneider tells she went to the bank and, did like big loan. And she was so excited. Oh my gosh, they just like gave me the money and then I can make my albums. And she did it. And interest is like so anyway, so lots of composers are doing this and I'm one of them. But see how they are doing. I mean, only people who believed enough in what they do. And I remember once Jim McNeely says, if musicians are doing something good for society, society has to take care of you. Or I can say, to me, I interpret it as like this: if I am meant to making albums or making music, if it's my calling, universe will take care of me, and it's been like that. So
Yeah.
I hope it'll continue.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that way of thinking. Yep. That's definitely my way of thinking too. If you're supposed to be, if you're doing what you love and you keep doing it and you're supposed to be doing it, that's what, yeah, it'll just lay it out in front of you, right?
Right.
Yeah. Um, yeah, which leads me into a little bit more philosophical ideas. Um, I mean, I think if you're an artist, there's part of you that is um, a strong part of what you're doing is geared towards giving to people, giving
Mm.
something to people, some inspiration or healing or that kind of thing. Would you say that's more major in your mind, or is that just part of the whole pie?
To be honest, I think I write for myself the first.
Yes,
I can't. Why do we create? Because we can't help.
yes, yes,
So I create music for myself to, um, I think first heal myself, and second maybe communicate with the world, and third maybe connect it with one another. But my belief is we are just humans, and how different we can be, even though we have different colors or different backgrounds, different countries, different languages, we're still humans. So we just, I think we just go through similar ups and downs. Let's say I have a sick family member. Who
yeah,
wouldn't? Who wouldn't? Maybe I say, um, my grandmother passed away. Whose grandmother is not passing away?
yeah. That's right,
So,
right.
or breakups, or just joys, whatever that all the emotions we have in life, we will go through that one way or another. So write music very personally and all the music, because that's the only way I can be very honest to my music. If I personally like writing music about me, about my surroundings, about my thoughts, and I strongly believe that this will still connect me to the world or to the people because we share the same things.
I like your point of view. I like what you're saying. I think like you do. It's really beautiful. Very beautiful. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Um, this is the kind of interview that I really like. I hate when I get somebody sorry out there, whomever I've interviewed, but I hate when people just list their accomplishments. That's not what this interview series is about. It's more about your perspective and, giving the people who are seeing this, opening a little door or connecting or acknowledging what they think too. That's what I really appreciate that. So
Well, I
thank you.
appreciate your words.
Yeah, yeah, I love your point of view. It's beautiful. Um, I think I'd like to hear another thing, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
So let's see. Um,
Well,
and
what?
yeah.
Hmm. Maybe
Um,
we can listen to one of the other tunes in my new album, or we can actually listen to the first album. That maybe you can go down and see Deep Blue Sea, because that's my very first. This is the very first music that I composed. My very first jazz orchestra music.
oh, wow. What
And
year
then I
was that?
actually I composed in 2013. And then that album I recorded. That's my first album I recorded in Boston. And it's so sad I never really had a show with them. Because after making this album, I came to New York, and then I was thinking, why did I make an album in Boston? But anyway, I did it.
But you did this at least.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Don't
So that's
mind if
my,
I just don't mind if I disappear for a minute off the screen because I'm going to go to the bathroom. But
oh yeah, sure.
I'll be able to hear it. I'm going to.
No worries. That's my very
So
first composition.
Wow. Gorgeous. Wow. Okay, so yeah, just beautiful. Um, let's see. I wanted to ask you a few questions. So this was your first concert at Berkeley? What was it? Your
First composition.
first
My
composition?
very first composition.
Yeah. This was your very first composition,
Very
meaning
first composition.
obviously you had written song, you were into songwriting before. So when you say composition, you mean like a grander scale.
Yeah, for jazz orchestra, yes.
Yeah. So one question I had was, as a jazz composition, and listening to it from my experience listening and understanding music, so it seems like it had different sections, right? And I was intrigued with how long the first saxophone solo was. That was long. And was it over what the form? Was it the form really long, or was it the same kind of smaller form, but you had written different backgrounds continuing on?
So the solo section, yes, I only had one soloist. It could have been two soloists. So the first, and then we have some kind of send-off, long send-off bridge, and we go into the second solo. I could have had second solo, but I sort of wanted to have a long solo. The chord changes are pretty much the similar, but different backgrounds and different atmosphere, I would say. But yeah, it was a long form. And also it's a ballad, so
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that was one question I had. Um, Beautiful, great soloist, beautiful. So, and this production was were these students or were these professionals or a mix?
they are all professionals, and more than half of them were Berkeley faculty
Ah,
members.
I,
So did Greg Hopkins, who was my teacher at Berkeley, who did all the contracts, so he put together the band. Um, yeah, so he helped on making this album a lot.
you're saying album? Was it an album? No.
Yeah, that was my first album.
Oh, it was. Okay.
I recorded in Boston.
Yep.
Yeah, I recorded in 15, I believe, and I released in 2017.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you did not make an album from this.
No, I made an album in Boston, and I never had any performance with that members because
Oh,
I did the recording and then I went to New York, so I
yeah,
never had a chance to play with them, which I feel a little sad.
yeah,
So I once thought about why did I make an album in Boston, even because I can't even have a show with them because I'm already in New York.
yeah,
But it is what it is.
yeah, yeah. Um, so as you were as you were studying, moving towards this result, um, I barely remember what we did in Berkeley, and it was probably very different. I was a composition major actually, but
Oh
it was so long ago. I played flute too,
wow.
but
Amazing.
I was so young, and Berkeley changed my life. It did because I had grown up in a musical family. When I went
Mm,
to Berkeley, now it was my choices of music. And then, Berkeley was like my community, not my dad's community or, that kind of
mm.
thing. But but still, I don't really remember this, and I'm curious. As you were in this composition group of classes, did you I'm imagining you had the opportunity to hear what you were writing as you
Mhm.
were going. Was it a rehearsal orchestra, or did you hear different sections, or how did the process happen? How did you, like write, hear, decide what to do with it, how to move on or change it?
So we had a program called Project Bands. So I think they did it every week or something like that. So you can actually write like very short sections and then you can bring it, they will
Oh,
play it. They will just sight read. So you can hear what you wrote. Also, Greg Hopkins Berkeley Concert Jazz Orchestra,
yeah.
they sometimes let majors bring their own charts so that they play for you
Oh, yeah.
once a while. And also, I also put together my own people a lot.
Yeah.
I just give them Starbucks $10, card, and just do some recordings just for certain things and play a bunch of my music just to hear what I wrote because you can only play through the Sibelius or finale, so it's very different than hearing from the band.
Yeah.
So we needed a lot of real band playing your music.
Yeah, yeah. Um, let's see. I was curious what it must have felt like. Do you remember hearing like the full orchestra play your full piece for the first time?
Yeah. I, I mean, at this moment, I still get a little nervous bringing the brand new music written like freshly and bring it to the band and see how it sounds. Because you know, because also that music played by band is still, even though you wrote it, the sound is new to you. You need time to get used to that sound, and there are always some things to rehearse, and they are not gonna play perfectly if it's at Berkeley because they're still students. If you are writing challenging music, yeah, I was very nervous, and I was like, wow. But also at the same time, it was just marvelous. Just think about it. You just wrote it. It's just notes. There's no sound. But once you bring it to the people and then they play it, there's music.
Yeah.
So it's just like a magic. Yeah, I mean, yeah, my heart was beating fast. I'm like so excited. At the same time, a little threatened.
Yeah,
Good times.
that's great. You know, so Nan Schwartz had her first marriage was to a cousin of mine.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so,
Okay.
I got an opportunity to talk with her, and also I've interviewed her. She's really nice, very nice, and really talented. I mean, just beautiful writing. And but it was interesting how she started. She was an arranger first, and
Mm,
well, actually, she had a really bad accident where she had to stay in the hospital for months. And
mm.
her parents were in the music industry, and some of their friends were like Henry Mancini and people like
Wow.
that. And they were coming by to visit Nan. And she talked to Henry Mancini specifically, and she was telling him that she really wanted to try arranging. And he
Mm,
said, you should probably try composing because arranging is not very much money, but composing you can make more money at. So, anyway, she was on her way with that. But also, at that time, it was a long time ago. You know, I'm sure it was, she's a little older than me, so it was probably, I don't know, more than 30 years ago. And so at that time, women composers and arrangers were not in abundance. But
mm.
she didn't know that. She was so young and nobody told her that. So she just went ahead and did it, and she got successful.
Mm.
I love that story because, just like who knew, I don't think about that. And now we spoke in the beginning about, women women speaking out or um, being leaders, especially from Korea or Japan. But of course, it's all over the world. It's not just
Mhm.
there, but I think in those areas of the world, it's more intense, the more suppression of women. But um, I mean, it sounds like you're like me in that the glass is half full, not half empty.
Mhm.
And if I want to do something, I'm going to do it. I mean, I'm not going to be president of the United States. I don't even want to do that. But if I want to do something that's new and unusual and other people may not be excited about doing for various reasons, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to do it.
Mm.
So my question is, let me gather my thoughts here. My question is, I guess my question is, do you have any considerations about that? I mean, aside from being Korean, here you are, a woman in this business. Do whenever I've been approached by organizations to write on the hardships of women in the business, I find that I don't really have a lot to say.
Mm.
I think because of my attitude. Like, yes, I'm a woman, but I don't really think of that as I'm going forth. Do you think about that or?
I'm just like you. I'm just like you. Because, I really think that you manifest what you think.
Me too.
So I don't want to think about hardships of being woman because you're going to create that as reality. I don't want to do that. And it's not that I make efforts not thinking about it. I just don't think about it. I'm just a human, happen to be a composer, have lots of desire to create. So what's that have to be being woman or a man? But I see some struggles. Not because men are mean and women are good,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's just men-dominated world.
Yeah.
It just happened to be that way. And I can see why women are having hard times. I mean, I don't want to say very specific examples, but of course I went through lots of sexism or like racism, but I don't want to hold on to that. I just want to say like, okay, it's because you are a BS, and it doesn't have to do with me. So it doesn't really have any effect on me. But at the same time, I'm thinking about Korean society, like how did it happen? Why we are sort of having this kind of good environment as a woman? Because someone fought for it one way or another. So we owe them greatly.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not a fighter figure, but there should be some fighters which I respect.
Yeah.
But my way of fighting is I want to be a figure who some of the younger generation see me as one of the mentors, or oh, she did it, so that I can do it as well. Just like Maria influenced me in that way. So I want to just keep on pursuing no matter what, and I want to be standing strong as a woman, just doing what I want, among all the men. So that's the way I want to fight for another woman.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't know. There are a lot of like feminism and feminists, but I certainly I don't think I'm one of them, but I am aware of that issue, and that's why I want to do well in my own field.
Yeah. Yeah. Just I'm writing down ideas. Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Totally. I love that. As a matter of fact, when I was at Berkeley, Toshiko she wasn't there, but she was definitely in the air. It hadn't been that much earlier when I was, than when I was there. And when I moved to LA, she was living here, and she and Lou, and I mean, they performed. I worked as a waitress at Dante's, which was this famous jazz club. I worked there for about a year and a half, and they were playing there, and it was very exciting to see her. She was so strong. The musicians really respected her. The music was just great. And yeah, I'm sure that even for me, being a singer, I think that that whole thing that I just described, that was actually put into my reality, my feeling, right? And made me who I am. Hold on one second. I'm going to mute us for a second.
The
Okay.
Oscar's here. I don't know where Nestor went.
Okay. Of course, there's a million things going on. When I started this series at the beginning of the pandemic, the very first day, and but during that first year, we we remodeled our kitchen, and sometimes they were like, and sometimes a few times I even had to postpone the show because
Oh.
I just it was too many things going on. Yeah, by the way, I'm sorry it took me so long to find you, but you're 582.
Wow. Hats off. You did like 582 shows?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, it's great. the first 9 months, I did it 6 days a week because I was so shocked. Everybody was so shocked, and I felt a lack of connection, and
Mm,
I'm very community based, and so and it just happened so naturally. And then
mm,
after 9 months, I felt okay. I think I can go down to 3 days a week, and then after a while, it was I think I either did one day or I just put up the the archives and then in the last few months I felt like yeah I think I want to go back to one day a week. It's really fun. It's great to meet people and to have these discussions. And even with my friends who, you work with people, but you don't sit around necessarily for 2 hours and
right.
talk to them and find out about their history.
Hmm.
So it's pretty cool to do this. Thank you again for coming.
My pleasure.
Let's see. Roland, I have a question. And by the way, he said you'd be great as a movie scorer because he sees all kinds of pictures and scenes when he's hearing your music.
Mm.
Was your first composition inspired in any way by folk music of Korea?
No, actually, no. It was just somehow I thought about water, and in the deep water, it's very serene, but it can be also very dramatic, the movement wise.
Cool.
It was funny that I wrote that music December 2013, and my next composition was called April Wind. And in April 2014, in Korea, we had a ferry wreck, which took 304 high school students'
Wow.
lives. Yes. So, but isn't it funny that I wrote two music both relates to that
What?
incident?
Oh, that incident particularly, yeah.
It's funny because my first music was Deep Blue Sea, and then the ferry wreck happened. And then my second piece was called April Wind, and it happened in April.
Hmm.
So I took that as a sign. And you're not gonna believe it. So the victim's number was 304, and my apartment number was 304. It's kind of crazy.
Wow.
So I was like, maybe I should compose a suite. Um, so I composed another couple of more. So I completed my first album called April,
That was what
which
Deep Blue was from?
yes, which is dedicated to that ferry wreck.
Wow. Wow. Well, yeah, I was just on the ferry.
Oh, where did you
We went
go?
to we went to Jeju Island to perform.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
that
I'm
was really
I'm
beautiful,
jealous.
Jeju. Yeah, it was really nice. I mean, it's definitely island life. It's just
Mhm.
like relaxed and the air temperature is beautiful and Yun Sung or Cho as I call him, he's really into tea, Chinese tea.
Yeah, yeah.
He even designed a teapot.
Yeah, I saw it on Instagram, which is
Yeah,
bizarre.
he's so funny, man. He just thinks of something and then he does it. He's a good photographer too, like really good.
Yeah.
But we actually went for a tea tasting for about 2 hours where
Wow.
I just got high from tasting tea. It was amazing. As a matter of fact, one of the teas, literally the smell and the taste brought me back to my college days. And
Mm.
it was so interesting to me.
Mm.
I was like, is this happening? Like I'm smelling and drinking and it just brought me back to the exact feeling of when I was in college, which was a really good feeling. I was free and interested and yeah, it was a great feeling. And anyway, but the ferry was the reason we took the ferry was because I guess all the travel situation it was he got to it too late. So we ended up having to take a
Mm.
ferry instead of a plane, and then we ended up not actually having seats on the ferry. So, you just kind of sit wherever. And
Oh no.
yeah, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was, I mean, it was, uh, it was not bad weather, and it was, I mean, what could be terrible about it? You're on the water, you're going to the island, it's nice, and you don't have to be amongst all the huge crowds inside because they're all sitting there or sleeping or eating or whatever they're doing. But anyway, but yeah, I can't imagine. Well, I'll have to look into why that happened. Hi, Joyce. How are you? Glad you're here. So, I was interested. What instrument do you write on an instrument, or do you write just out of your head?
My beginning of the process is always just without an instrument
Yeah.
because I don't want to start my piece with some kind of harmony or melody or some sort of musical ideas. So I walk around a lot and think about what's the characteristics are on this specific tune, because I really want my piece to be different than other my babies. So I mostly start with the stories or imageries and what's the character of this piece. And after I'm done with the concept, I go to piano and try to figure out sometimes harmony first, sometimes melody first, sometimes rhythm first, sometimes some kind of textural ideas.
That's really interesting. I've never heard anybody say that. I love that. I mean, relating to my own songwriting, many times, I'd say at least half of the times of songs that I've written, I'm I'm in a particular emotion, or something happened, or there's some kind of a more of an intellectual or emotional feeling about it, and then I sit down and I'm expressing that, and I know that it's right if I am, every time I play the melody, or the melody and the chords, if I'm brought back to, you know, the the creative space, that happens when everything's right. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like the magic space. So if I'm always brought back there, that's how I know I'm on the right path.
Mm.
But yeah, so it's really interesting to hear you say that. Maybe that's why, to me, your music is so it's so attractive. It's not, and as I said in the very beginning, it's not like other big band music or big band orchestra music. There's something different about your music that I really like. It's really beautiful, really beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Um, let's hear another one. We're still. I Is it okay to you that
Yeah,
you
why
have?
not?
Okay. So let's see. I'm gonna share again, and so I loved this piece, the Deep Blue Sea. That was really good. Whoops, I left that. Okay, and so let's see. Oh, there's April Wind. Okay, and
Maybe we can hear that we're all from the same stream.
okay, I love that name. Uh, is this the new record?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh, whoops. Wow. Fantastic. Another fantastic one. This is exciting. Love this. It's really great. Um, Watching you conduct makes me remember that I wanted to I thought conducting was so awesome. And I had I just had my experience wasn't moving into that direction, but I just thought, oh, yeah, conducting is like incredible. Your conducting looks great. Very clear and yeah. Sometimes I've gone to see conductors and I can't quite understand what they're doing. It doesn't even look in time with the music. I don't know the rules of conducting, but sometimes I just don't understand what's going on. Oh, see that's so weird. YouTube suspended my that song, I guess, or several of the songs, maybe because, it's on your record. I don't get it. It's like I have the artist on YouTube. It's just an algorithm, I understand, but that's happened over the years. It's like, oh, come on, man, just
Yeah.
let me check off a mark. Do you have the artist on? Yes. No, that doesn't happen. Thanks for letting me know, Roland. So, yeah, conducting. Can you speak a little bit on conducting?
I really enjoy conducting. And I've come a long way. And when I first did it, I was like, I didn't know how to actually move my arms.
Hmm.
And I didn't know the art of conducting. But right now, the more I do, the more I realize that how you conduct will really make your band sounds different. So even though sometimes I feel like, oh, this is 4/4/4, they don't need cues. But the thing is, once you have the clear beat, they will play together. So it's so weird. So I've learned a lot just by doing it and watching a lot of classical conductors, just like you said, like sometimes I don't know what they're doing. And because I think the reason is the pop or jazz, this is the downbeat, but classical, I mean, you're a flute player, so you know that, but sometimes they do they cue it very differently, and then all the strings, maybe the nature of the instrument, they kind of react slowly. So it seems always like quarter bit slower, something like that. So it's
Yeah.
always sort of weird. But anyways, so thanks to my band members who had been very patient with my conducting development times, but I really enjoy it. And sometimes you don't really know they are. Sometimes it's easy to think that they don't look at you, but they do, because they are like looking at their charts, but the third eye is looking at you and then sort of feeling what you're doing. So the more I do, I really think the band sound depend on the conductor, their togetherness, dynamics, or just the energy overall. I'm very into it.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that's great. How about live performances? Do you do live performances with this?
I do. I have a show August and September. August, I have my release show, in September at Berlin. So I mean, it's big band, so I can only do maybe once a quarter in New York. But once in a blue moon, some festivals bring us, so that's fantastic. I travel with some, 12 people or something like that. So that's like, wow, fantastic. But
That's an experience.
not happening every single time. But anyways, yeah, I really feel comfortable standing in front of my band so that I don't have to perform, so quote unquote. But they are my once Duke Ellington says, my instrument is my orchestra. I think that's true. They play my music and I conduct them. So they are my instrument. And I'm very comfortable with them. Yeah, I think being a singer, you have to have your front to the audience,
Yeah.
and conductor, you have to have your back to the audience. I feel much comfortable that way, so that my band members are in charge of sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I love that. Um, for this music, have you is it obviously rehearsed, but is it a long approach? Is it a short approach? Is it like the day before or the day of, or have you been playing it?
Hmm. Some of because the writing process takes some years. So some of the music I composed some years before, so that I played here and there with live performances, and I have chance to revise.
Yeah.
But some of the music I compose like, I don't know, a week before the recording day, something like that.
Wow.
So it really depends. Um, for instance, the second music that we listened to, that is in my previous album, I finished literally the day before the rehearsal. So I brought it. And yes, but somehow I had a confidence
Okay. Now,
that this will be okay.
when you say compose, did you when you compose, do you score compose, or do you melody and harmony and then maybe a little like the form, or do you full on hear it and write down the whole thing as you go?
Yeah, write down the whole thing for 17 people, 17 to 18
As,
people, just like
as you
classical
go.
orchestra. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
So
wow.
everybody has their individual charts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm asking about the process of writing it. Do you like you sit down and you're writing, and so
So
you're writing.
right, I have some sketches. So here and there, I want to have this part to be
Yeah.
the biggest, or like I want some kind of certain emotional statement on the solo section, something like that. So it's like puzzle, like you have to have like tons of puzzles and you have to make it as a one picture. Yeah, but sometimes you have like head first, sometimes foot first,
Yeah.
sometimes background first. So yeah.
And obviously, like a song, like writing a song, sometimes it takes 24 hours, and sometimes it takes a few months, or right? It's
Definitely, yes.
just
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, when it flows, that's the greatest feeling. You
Yeah.
just are in the zone and
Yeah.
just God of music gives you the inspiration.
It's fantastic. Um, yeah. Do you do you have time and desire to go hear live music?
Yeah, of course. Sometimes it's it's bizarre that every time, every night you go outside and the world-renowned musicians are playing somewhere and then you don't go.
Yeah.
That's the story. Once you live in New York, you don't really appreciate what's given.
Yeah.
Like the same thing in LA as well.
Yeah.
So one day I sort of decided maybe I should just check out more live music. So if there's some kind of jazz orchestra shows, I make effort to go see. And I want to get some inspirations or I want to support certain fellows. And I just appreciate this cult. So lots of reasons. Also, if there are musicians playing and I really want to check out, I go, but not that often. But it needs some effort to go outside.
Yeah. Well, otherwise, mostly you're probably working on things, right?
Right. I'm just
Yeah.
home working on it, studying, and I'm happy. I'm happy at home.
I'm the same way. Yeah, I try, like recently, after I came back from Japan and Korea, I thought I'm going to make an effort to go hear people in new places because there's always new little places popping up. Lots of great. I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches of musicians here. Just
Mm.
people are playing so great and moving here, and so there's a lot to hear and discover. And I don't want to be out of it too. Um, I'd say 20 years ago, I was younger. I was more in the scene. The scene was different. I knew a lot of people. A lot of people knew me. Nowadays, you know, I'm doing different things, and maybe somebody's heard of my name, but it's not like before. And I certainly don't know everybody, but by going out and hearing people again and again, maybe they're playing with a friend of mine, and so that draws me, and and then sometimes I'm just like, you know what, whatever. I'm tired. I'm busy. I'm helping somebody, which lately I've been helping people in health issues. Or maybe I just really have to work on something and put some music together or decide on some musical thing. So I'm the same way as far as that goes. But, oh, and by the way, my friend Roland, who's here, he said, just let Jihye know she can go to Disneyland because I downloaded 3 of her albums and 2 videos from iTunes, and that's 0.00015 cents.
That's hilarious. Well, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. I need maybe thousands of you to go to Disneyland, but you're the first one. Ah, that's funny.
Right, Roland? Though, I mean, her music is great, right? Yeah.
Uh,
Um, well, we've covered quite a lot of information here and points of view. Is there anything that I haven't touched on that you would like to talk about?
not much. I mean, it's been a fun conversation with you, and you asked lots of thoughtful questions, which I appreciated.
I'm very glad to get to know you more, and I really hope our paths will cross more.
Mhm.
If I was richer, I would just pop over to New York and hear your live concert. That would be pretty thrilling. And Yeah, but yeah, I definitely hope our paths cross, more in the future. Um, if there's any time that you create coming to Los Angeles, definitely let me know. And if it's musically related, I'll be happy to promote it in whatever way I can. Um, yeah, um, and yeah, I'm just really excited. Thank you for your recording that you sent me. it's very exciting to just have it. And yeah, I don't know. I
Well, thank
think
you so much for finding me, and all your kind words mean a lot to me, seriously. And all the waters, Roland, was it Roland?
it is rolling.
Hey,
Yeah.
thanks for the Disneyland tips. I appreciate it. And I really admire all the people who keep on pursuing their music and keep on creating, including Cathy. And someone like you inspire me to keep on doing it. So I appreciate you. And just like, not only the music, but the show, not 528. That's crazy. We keep on saying consistency is the key, and you are consistently doing this to share and to connect people, which I really appreciate. I'm very happy to meet you. I hope to meet you in person sometime soon. And I'm happy to be connected with your listeners. So thank you so much for having me.
Thanks. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day, and
You too.
definitely we'll keep in touch every so often. Just catch up. Actually, I have a few things that I'm going to send you. So just that I
Please
wrote
do.
down, like, oh, send her this. Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Oh, and ladies and gentlemen, I just want to tell you next week is Aubrey Johnson, very talented
Mm.
human, and she's going to be on Monday. Okay. Bye.